Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am your host, Greg Romero Wilson, and this is Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. We're doing this on Friday, and first of all, I want to apologize to anyone that follows this podcast, that watches the show, or that listens to this online, and I want to apologize because I haven't been able to do my weekly recaps on the Monday, Tuesday show. Scott Berman, welcome to the show. I haven't been able to do them because I've been traveling a lot. I've had gigs out of town. I was in Phoenix, and then I was in El Paso, and then I'm going to Miami this weekend. It's just one right after the other, and when I come back, I usually fly back on Monday, which eliminates Mondays, and then I'm so exhausted on Tuesdays. It's just been hard, and so I apologize to anyone that listens to the podcast that I haven't been able to do my weekly recap shows, but I've been pretty good about doing my preview shows, which, let's be honest, this is by far the more important show. We all know what happened. Tim Bateman, welcome to the show. Joe Hanley, welcome to the show. Robert Torres, welcome to the show. We all know what happened. We all have our wins, our losses. We all have Jessica Santafararo. Welcome to the show. We all have our heartbreaks that we went through over the weekend, and I love to recap them. I love to recant them, but it's just been very hard lately. But I thank you guys. And listen, Jessica, how about them Niners, though? Listen, take a mid-season victory lap. You guys are all the way there. I hate to say this, but this happens a lot in both football and in fantasy football, where someone starts out really hot and goes undefeated for 5 or 6 games, and what happens? They lose one game, and it just right back down to reality. And a lot of times they say it's because they got exposed, that essentially the way to beat them has been put out there, and then everybody just kind of follows that blueprint. I don't know if it's so much that or so much mentally, when you're undefeated, that's great. Good work, Joe. But when you're undefeated, you're flying so high, and then all of a sudden you become mortal again. And I feel like that plays into it a lot too. You realize you can be beat, and then you are beat. So, but congratulations, Niners. As a Cowboys fan, of course I'm going to shit all over that. Because my Cowboys keep shitting the bed. And talk about a make or break week. Oh my God. And let's just take a little mid-season. You guys chime in. Rams could have, but nope, you're right. The Rams played, and let's be honest, Jared Goff this season, he's one of those guys that doesn't look like last season's version. Sort of like last season's version didn't look like the season previous when he was terrible. Then he got good, And so now he's kind of sucking again. And he's back to being that guy that you were like, fucking Jared Goff. I knew he was a waste of a draft. So it's one of those things where, they just don't look the same as they did last year. They're out of sync. And a lot of it might have to do with Todd Gurley. Just like with the Cowboys, we have the new offensive coordinator, and it's Kellen Moore, a former quarterback who slung the ball all the time. And guess what he's trying to turn the Cowboys into? The team, and that's not their formula. Their formula has always been run first, run often, and that controls the clock. And that's what gives them the opportunities to create, to open up the passing game. That's how we win games. And instead of doing that, we're throwing the ball all over the place and losing shit. Would you play Jalen Ramsey? Absolutely, I would play Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey is going to have a great game. And I think they're up against Atlanta, so they're going to put him on shadow coverage on Julio Jones. The one that it really hurts are Julio Jones owners, because now he's going to have shadow coverage, whereas before he did not. They have Aqib Talib and they have Marcus Peters. I believe Talib is injured or on the IR, quite possibly, and then Peters, was more of a zone coverage guy. Peters is now gone. Now they have an incredible cover corner in Jalen Ramsey. And so now for everybody that was hoping to really roll with Julio this week, it's going to be a little trouble. The ginger must go. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Coach Carrot. And I haven't been for a few seasons. I'm one of those people that's kind of just gone along with it because he doesn't do anything to really make you hate him. And they had such a good season last year. But I much like with Romo, I lost faith in Romo. I was ready to move on from Romo. I am ready to move on from Coach Carrot. But again, the real problem, in many ways, that's the symptom. The real sickness, the real problem is Jerry Jones being the general manager. I'm not even afraid of him. Okay, we have a question here. Marvin Jones Jr. or Michael Gallup? I'm going to say, Detroit they got a pretty tough matchup. Let me look. Who's Detroit up against? Before I go speaking out of turn, which is something I do pretty regularly. Where is Detroit? I can never find something when I'm actually looking for it. But I know that obviously with Michael Gallup, they're up against Philadelphia, which the Cowboys should be able to shred. They have that secondary that's really fucking awful. And Amari Cooper is not... Oh, Detroit, they're going against Minnesota. Ooh, that's going to be a lot tougher. You know what? Michael Gallup is definitely the call, especially with the Philadelphia defense and Amari Cooper being banged up. Even if he plays, it's probably going to be, it's not a no Cooper situation just yet. I think he's still questionable, but he is banged up. Even if he does play, there's no telling how much he's going to play. I love it. John Mesh is here. He says, "What's up? Ready to get juiced?" Well, listen, I wish I could say I'm not, but I am. You motherfucker. I'm playing John Mesh this week. He already released this fantastic movie, which, you know what? I will put it on the Fantasy Football Harsh Reality Instagram. So if you follow FFHR Podcast on Instagram or on Twitter, I will post the incredible video that John Mesh posted of him juicing me this weekend. Now, I feel good about my chances. I don't feel great. Emmanuel Sanders obviously had a very bad day yesterday. I really got to upgrade. I got to make some trades. I need some people. I got to upgrade my receivers because my receivers are my two best receivers are on bye, DJ Moore and OBJ, even though both of them have been pretty underproductive. So right now, crack. Good to see you. Andrew, how are you? Jennifer Yarrow. Scott Reynolds, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Yeah, everyone knew that back issue with Jalen Ramsey was just bullshit. Let's talk about what happened last night, though. Let's talk about what happened last night with that Kansas City game versus the Broncos, which are just. I love that even Aikman at the end was like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Show a little urgency." Show. I mean, and that's the thing. Mahomes, the guy goes out and is out for the game, and he went out in like the second quarter, and all those points were the Broncos' own fault. They kept doing that stupid fake punt. Did you see the punter when he went to run? And he realized the DB did not bite, and he was coming right out of that punter. That punter was just like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to," and just like, oh god, that was the most. Everything they did was atrocious in every phase of the game, and and you gotta wonder this. Okay, listen, I'm not one. Well, Damian Williams, talking about the running backs over on that side. Listen, I wasn't big on Damian Williams at the beginning of the season. I was excited about LaShawn McCoy, but now it looks like you got a full-on committee there, and a committee in which they clearly are not committed to the run. Even when Moore came in, they didn't run the ball more. There's a pun for you. They didn't run the ball more. They threw the ball. They kept throwing the ball. So I don't like what's happening there, although but it is a full-on, it's a committee. It's a full-on committee. And yes, so Damian Williams, you can't use any of these guys at this point. But yes, those Broncos, and here's the point I was making. Here's the thing I was going to say. Okay, here's the thing. Okay. I'm not one to call people racist just for, making racial jokes or something like that. I think there's a difference between a racial joke and actually being a racist. I think a racist is determined by their actions. When you see them actually, actively like treating other people differently, then that, to me, that's a racist. Okay. And I only say that to say this. I feel like maybe, just maybe, John Elway's maybe a little racist. Maybe a little bit racist. And I only say that because of the fact that, here we are clearly in the era of the mobile quarterback, which we all know what that means. We all know that means the black quarterback, which is awesome. But he keeps hiring statue white guy after statue white guy, one right up. Like he just wants, like a lot of people in America today wants to turn back the clock to a different time. And it's like, that's not where we're at, man, and you need to get on board and get yourself a real quarterback that compete in today's league. All right, let's see who we got here. There are a couple of other questions that came in. Apart from Von Miller, Elway has drafted nothing but donkeys. Well, I mean, with the quarterback position, it's clear he wants to keep it white. That's what it looks like to me. To the eye test, it looks like he refuses to adapt to the modern NFL. So, Josh Gordon or Marlon Mack in my flex. Are you joking me? Get the fuck out of here. Clearly that's Marlon Mack. Oh my God. Because Josh Gordon, to be honest, I had to drop him because I had to go pick him up another wide receiver because he's got an ankle and a knee problem. His numbers have been garbage and he plays on Monday night. And I couldn't risk him playing like shit or not playing at all on Monday night. So you have to play Marlon Mack. I had to go out and get that Auden Tate kid who actually looks really good over there in Cincinnati. He really does. So I was like, okay, you know what? At least his numbers are up. At least he's putting up at least 11 points a game. Whereas, Josh Gordon's so banged up and they're just not looking at him. They're just not looking at him. It is all Julian Edelman or nothing, or White or James White. But they're not taking a shot on him at all. Statue White guy, that's right, man. Marvin Jones Jr. versus Minnesota or Robbie Anderson versus the Pats. I mean, in this case, I would say Marvin Jones Jr., and I'll say that because of this. The Patriots have just been number one. That defense is fantastic. And, Robbie Anderson has Sam Darnold throw him to him. Marvin Jones Jr. has Matt Stafford throwing to him. And if you think about Minnesota, Xavier Rhodes is really the guy that you're trying to stay away from, and he's going to be on Galladay. So it is quite possible that Marvin Jones Jr. winds up being the guy with better opportunities, and I think he's definitely going to get more targets than Robbie Anderson. So for me, that's a Marvin Jones Jr. situation. Will Cole Beasley do anything against Miami? Listen, if he was going to do anything against anybody, this is the game to do it. Robert Torres, I benched Stephon Diggs last week. Should I play him this week? Well, I mean, this is one of those things. He's only had that one super amazing game. And anytime that somebody has an amazing game, then you play him the next week, there's usually disappointment that follows. That being said, you should have played Diggs last week, and you should play him this week. It's one of those you got to play your studs situations where you got to play him. And the same is true with Thielen. I mean, depending on who else you have, but I think you have to play Thielen. Again, and the Detroit defense is a much better defense than people say. And listen, what do you think of Darrell Henderson? I mean, the thing about Darrell Henderson is, you're really caught in a handcuff quandary when you own Gurley. Because is it going to be Malcolm Brown? Is it going to be Darrell Henderson? Last week, it was, when Gurley was out, both Henderson and Malcolm Brown got played in my league of record, and they both shit the bed. So, but of the two, I think Henderson is the better back to have, although it seems like, Malcolm Brown still has the designation of the number 2 back. So it's not a great situation with either one of those, but Darrell Henderson, I think, is by far the more talented running back who ultimately will probably get more touches. And yes, Jonathan Gregory, I agree with you, Thielen. Michael Thomas or DeAndre Hopkins. Now we got a good one. Okay. So we have Michael Thomas or DeAndre Hopkins. Malcolm Brown won't play this week. Well, obviously not. Todd Gurley is supposed to play. So, you want to have... But if Gurley plays, you want to play Gurley. So, but yeah, Malcolm Brown isn't going to play. But I don't think either one of them is going to play. I think Gurley's going to play. That's what it's trending like. That's what it looks like. Let's see... New Orleans is playing Chicago. Ooh. And Tennessee, or rather the Titans, I think they're playing Indianapolis. Is that right? Is that who they're playing? Let me find them real quick. Yes, they're playing Indianapolis. Now, the Indianapolis defense is obviously a very good defense, but the Chicago defense is arguably the best defense in the NFL right now. So that being the case, for me, DeAndre Hopkins all day and twice this Sunday. Wide receiver core, Gallup, Tate, and Flex, Ertz, Hooper. Do I sub in Beasley? No. I don't know where you'd put him, but you keep all those guys in there. I mean, Ertz, he's been a disappointment this season, obviously, but last week he started to come alive, and I think he's beginning to get a little more involved, at least consistency, even though it isn't in the red zone. Consistency in the targets is starting to happen. Whereas Beasley, and here's the thing, about that Miami game, I wanted to say, listen, ooh, Fitzmagic, I know. Listen, this is where Fitzmagic is great. Is coming in and making somebody else look stupid. You hand him the keys to the kingdom and he makes himself look stupid. But when he gets to come in and replace somebody, he plays great. And that's why I am actually going to say my upset of the week is the Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills. Now, I could be crazy because the Buffalo defense is much better. But this seems like a Miami team that's just been waiting for somebody to give them some hope. And it started to happen in the second half of last week. So, to me, I know everybody's going high and playing that Bills defense. And, they're the number one most expensive defense on daily fantasy. But I'm telling you, watch out. That's a trap. It's a trap. It's a trap. So I would not sub in Beasley. Fuller or Boyd. Cincinnati, they're going up against Jacksonville, who's not been playing that great, but, Minshew madness, all that business. And the Jacksonville defense, and I feel like it's one of those things, like now they're not waiting to see if Jalen is going to play or if his back's okay. And as we've seen, that sometimes when you remove a cancer, when you remove a problem person, no matter how talented, Antonio Brown, I'm looking at you, the team plays better. And that might be the case here. And Boyd, right now, obviously, is the wide receiver 1, so he's going to get a Boye. So, whereas Fuller, wide receiver 2, but he's hot and cold, but he's in Indianapolis. For me, I'm going to say Fuller this week over Boyd. But again, as always, you go with your gut, man. You do what you think is the right thing to do. Max Solway, welcome to the show, brother. Vincent Oshada, look at this Cowboys. We're still better than your Giants. Here's my impression of the New York Giants. Okay, there you go. How about them Cowboys? Still, like I said, I knew you were going to listen. And this week will be very telling. You know what? Let's check up next week. When I do, I will promise to do a Tuesday show recap. Hopefully Monday, but probably Tuesday. And when I do, we will talk about them Cowboys because I think we're going to come out there and we're going to rock them Philadelphia Eagles. I hope that's true. Anyways, this is a hard one. Good trade, creepy. Should I play Alan Lazard, also Stafford, or Carson Wentz? Now, I will say this. I think you play Lazard. I think the Green Bay Packers have been looking for a wide receiver to step up and be that receiver, right? And since Devontae Adams goes down, and people have been hoping it's MVS or Geronimo Allison, and he can't get it to anybody. He's trying to throw to Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham stops just dropping balls. And then out of nowhere, this kid comes off the bench and becomes the most reliable wide receiver they've got. And Devontae Adams just got ruled out for this week like 2 hours ago. So to me, but I think Alan Lazard is a start this week. I think you play this kid. Stafford or Wentz? I mean, Wentz going up against my Cowboys. Detroit going up against Minnesota. I hate to say it, but Stafford's looked really good so far. I mean, he's starting to heat up, but he did throw some interceptions. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to say Carson. I think Carson might have a better day because Minnesota's defense is pretty good. You are crazy. Vincent, don't you call me crazy. You're the one this guy, okay, Vincent Oshada, this motherfucker, brilliant comedian. If you haven't seen him, go see Vincent Oshada. But this motherfucker's a Giants fan, and when the Cowboys are losing, he's all up on me. And we go right back and forth. Oh, but when the Giants sucked a dick, when we beat your ass in week 1, he wouldn't respond. Radio silence to multiple texts, multiple phone calls. He just nothing. You, my friend, you are a giant coward. But I love you, brother. You're the best there is. Okay. Yeah, those first 3 weeks were amazing. Listen, we're going to find out. Look, Dak, you can do it, buddy. You got it. I listen, I know Bill's defense puts up 20. Listen, I know. I'm telling you, this is my crazy outside vibe. It would be the upset of the week as it happens. But listen, man, look what happened last night. Look what happened last night. Mahomes goes out and the fucking Broncos still couldn't fucking score. And and you just see the way they were doing those generic runs up the middle, complete, like no scheme at all. Like it's like one of those things. Like when a girl has a reputation for being easy, so a guy asks her out, she gets in the car, and he just immediately starts trying to bang her. And she's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And he's like, what? I thought you were... She's like, I'm not that fun. Get the fuck out of here. And she gets out of the car and leaves. That's what it was last night. The Broncos had such a reputation of being easy on the run that Kansas City, that the Broncos thought, we just hand it to him out and go straight at him. And the Kansas City Chiefs were like, no fucking way. Fuck you. We're shutting that down. And that's what happened. It was so stupid. And then, that's what I think we have to talk about here. Let's talk about this, guys. Because I think we have to talk about the influence of the media on the game plans, because we have seen it time and time again. When something gets out into the media, action on the field follows. The media was talking, play Philip Lindsay, 27 points, he's going to be amazing, right? And then what happened was they heard that, and they're like, listen, everyone says we're easy to run against, so we're shutting down the run. So they shut down the run. That's why this week I love Melvin Gordon. Even though he's going up against Tennessee, which is a very good run-stopping defense, the fact of the matter is, third time's the charm. He's back. He clearly feels comfortable back in his position there in San Diego because he is going to the media and saying, I need more touches. So what do you think is going to happen this week? Because I'm betting one of two things happens. Either he gets the touches he's asking for, or they give Eckler more touches, and they're like, you just settle down. But I think what happens is they give him the touches he's asking for, and I think he finds a way to break loose against the Tennessee defense. But listen, and I'm just telling you this because we've seen, and when it comes to the Bills versus Miami, we've seen this with Fitzpatrick before, and I'm just saying, don't be surprised. Am I betting on it? Fuck no. Would I bet on the Bills? Fuck yeah. Yes, they should absolutely dominate. But again, when you look at a game last night, the Broncos should have been able with them. They should have been able to stop them, and they should have been able to come back on them. Instead, they gave up a fucking 47-yard touchdown to Tyreek. Sanders or White or Micah? Who'd you mean by that? Okay, so you have Sanders, all right, James White, and Michelle. Were you trying to say Michelle? Sony Michelle? I'm going to say, I don't know, Miles Sanders has been coming on really strong, and he looks great when he runs the ball. James White, of course, is kind of a dart throw, and Michelle's kind of a dart throw, although I think he's more reliable in this instance. Although White could be the guy because the Jets are good against the run, and they're playing with Sam Darnold, so they're playing a lot better. I mean, this is not and don't think they're not upset about the way that shit went down the last time when they played against Falk and all that bullshit. They're going to be fucking upset, and I'm telling you, and it sucks because I'm starting Tom Brady, but I expect Tom Brady to have a not-so-good game against this Jets team that I think is going to be very angry. I'm going to say Miles Sanders. Does Zeke Elliott or any other Cowboy sexually assault anybody this week? No, that's the Giants. No, they are. There will be an assault on the Eagles. Did you see how I did that? Did you see what I did? There'll be an assault on the Eagles. Whoa, not mixing. Okay, I don't know what that means exactly. Let's get messy juice or chunky milk. It depends on which league. In the league in which we're playing right now, I was so hoping Emmanuel Sanders might. Clearly, Cortland Sutton's the guy, and although Emmanuel Sanders has been asking for a trade, and so I think that's going to happen. I'm holding on to him, and I only played him this week out of pure necessity. And Thursday night games can be weird, and so I was hoping it might be weird in my favor, and it wasn't. It just wasn't. So that sucked. I think it might be meshy juice. Fuck you. Fitzmagic becomes Fitztragic, doesn't come out for second half. We'll see. That's why they play the game. J.R. Huffman, welcome to the show. Okay. I traded Connor for Devontae Adams. Who won that trade? You know who won that trade. whoever got Connor, because Devontae Adams isn't playing. In the short term, it's clearly, hey, Oshana, Danny Dimes goes down, go Big Red. He's an Arizona Cardinals fan. So, and listen, you want points. Listen, the point leader of the week is going to be Saquon Barkley. Coming back off the, by chomping at the bit, ready to play against a very leaky Arizona defense. I think it's going to be a lot of Saquon all day long, and I think he winds up being the number one point earner of the season of the weekend. In the hottie and the naughty, why did your character pronounce naughty like naughty? Okay, good question. Flacco needs to retire. Yeah, that's he's bad. He's straight up bad. And you know what? I had a lot of faith in him going into this season because, he's one of those guys, he had that one incredible season, and I'm like, maybe he can replicate that with this Denver defense. It'll give him, the opportunity. And no, he's as garbage as I remember. And anyone that's ever had to resort to having Flacco as their starting quarterback knows that you shouldn't trust him anymore. I had him. I had to use him one year as a backup, and it was just garbage. He ruined my season because my main quarterback went down, Flacco went in, and unfortunately he was the best option I had, and it ruined my whole season. I should hate him with all my heart, but for some reason I really thought with these weapons, in that defense, maybe, but you know what? Yes, retire. You know what? Because your time has come and gone. Sorry. Flacco doesn't kiss on the first date. Jonathan, I don't think Flacco kisses. I don't even think he likes that kind of thing. I think when he's has Mormon sex where it's like through a sheet. I think I don't think he likes contact. I think it's like a lot of just, it's more like he's doing push-ups than having sex. There's a lot of, and occasionally just you good. That's it. Jonathan, Mixon. You were saying Joe Mixon is who you were trying to say, not Michelle, and it came out Mycon. Joe Mixon versus Jacksonville. Actually, it could be a nice day for Mixon, and but versus Miles Sanders or the other one, which James White. Actually, what do you guys say? I'm going to say Mixon. I think actually in that case, I think Mixon's going to get the most opportunities against a fairly vulnerable Jacksonville defense. I'm kind of hoping they rebound now that Jalen is out of the building. Okay, moving on. Mixon, Allen Robinson, or Edelman. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. Chicago is coming off a bye, and I love teams coming off a bye. They're rested. They're hungry. And they have let's see, who's their matchup for Chicago? Is it, it's New Orleans, which New Orleans is a very good defense. New Orleans is a very, very good defense. Edelman, here's the thing about Edelman. Edelman's definitely, you got to go Edelman. You got to go Edelman, but he's playing with that chest bruise. He could get knocked out of the game by this Jets defense, but ultimately, I think better opportunity is on the side of Edelman in this one. Is Kirk Cousins actually still alive, or is he just a bunch of farts wearing a human costume? I'm going to say farts. That's a funny one, Huffman. Although I will say this, I actually think that Kirk Cousins, he seems to kind of be coming back. He's throwing the ball more, and I think the pressure from the media, again, we were talking about the way stuff that happens in the media actually begins to affect what happens in the game. Stephon Diggs complained in the media. The next week, he gets 3 touchdowns. Will this week be a market correction? Abso-fucking-lutely. Did I have to play against him the week that he got 3 touchdowns? Abso-fucking-lutely, because the fantasy gods fucking hate me. It's so funny, too. Of my teams, I have 2 3-3 teams and 1 4-2 team. The 4-2 team is in my Comedians League, and it's, of course, the team that lost Saquon Barkley and Antonio Brown. My first and second picks both got knocked out, and yet somehow that team is 4-2, and my team that has, Todd Gurley and Derrick Henry and OBJ and Evan Ingram, that team is 3-3, and Tom Brady 3-3. So, it's just, sometimes the gods are just funny that way. They just like to look at you and go, you silly human, look at you trying. Allen over Edelman, though I hate the Patriots. Okay, you think that's a better play to go. See, and that's the thing. Everybody has their own opinion, and that's why I always say go with your gut. Like I said, I do like guys, coming off the bye week. I think Trubisky is going to start. But does that bode well? Again, New Orleans is a very, very, very good defense. I got to say, I'm sticking with the Edelman call on that one. Right, and Scott Berman makes a very good point. Josh Gordon's hurt, which he's so questionable to play. It's one of those things that once he does play, he's going to be, who knows? But he's so hurt, you can't trust him. All right, let's keep going. Don't agree with the Saquon analogy. Cards are going to load the box and make Danny beat them. Expect lots of blitzing, blah, blah, blah. Homer shit, homer shit, homer shit. Everybody has run all over you all season long. I don't think you fix it this week. Not against a generational talent. It doesn't matter how many people you put in that box. He's going to then throw the ball down the field. You'll spread out. And, it's going to be, sorry, but you're wrong, Tim. You're dead fucking wrong. All right. I traded Kittle for Chris Carson. That's a good trade. Then Ingram for Ertz. That's not a good trade. So that's a 50-50. You got Chris Carson, which, listen, that's a guy I was wrong about. I didn't trust him because of the fumbling issues and the injury issues. But Kittle, he's been hot and cold, although he seems to be heating up. But Chris Carson's he's beast mode, baby. He's what they've been looking for. And they're going to keep riding him until he either does get injured or they get knocked out of the playoffs. One or the other. The Ingram for Ertz, that's on you. It depends. If you traded Evan Ingram for Ertz, still a bad move because Evan Ingram has had a lot more opportunities, even though he missed one game. But if it's Mark Ingram for Ertz, then it was a horrible move, and you should shoot yourself in the face. Saquon will best you through the air, Bateman. Yeah, Saquon, listen, Saquon, no PP, will keep ass in check, Berman. No, I'm sorry, Bateman. You're a homer on this one. How many leagues are you in, Creepy? Jonathan Gregory says he is in 4 leagues. I'm at 3, and that's one more than I usually am in. No, listen, Bateman, he could be in half a league. He could be in a daily league, and he'd still be making these trades. The guy he lives to trade, trades to live. He says that. That's his thing. Let's see. Okay, so again, if you have any lineup questions, be sure and punch them in there. So far, this has been a great show. There's a lot still to talk about. Let's go back to the beginning really quickly. Again, Arizona, San Francisco at Washington. Obviously, you want to play that San Francisco defense. They're looking great on the Washington side. I wouldn't play anybody if you could avoid it. Even scary Terry McLaurin, I wouldn't stick with that one. Whereas on the San Francisco side of the ball, you got pretty much a full committee thing happening with their running game too. But I think you could get value out of both Tevin Coleman and Matt Breida in this particular game. I think Kittle gets on track there. I think Kittle has a good game. I like these guys. In terms of the wide receivers, you're really not sure who you can depend on in that particular wide receiving core, so I'm not sure I'd be all over that. They do still have Josh Norman, for crying out loud. Arizona, the Giants, to me, this is the points bonanza. Again, the games that really churn out points aren't necessarily the ones with great offenses. It's the ones with shitty defenses. That's where a lot of the points are made. And that's where this Arizona Giants game is going to make their hay. Saquon Barkley is absolutely going to be the number 1 point scorer of the weekend. By the same token, I think Kyler Murray has an excellent chance to be the top QB going up against this really porous Giants defense. I think Golden Tate should have a very good day. If Evan Ingram can move right, Evan Ingram should have an amazing day. You traded for and you're starting Tevin this week. Tevin Coleman is a very good start this week. I would definitely start him. Matt Breida, I would start him in a flex. I wouldn't start him as an RB1 or RB2. Let's move on to Houston versus Indianapolis. This is, again, one of those games. It looks like a lot of production, but actually 2 sneaky good defenses that have been playing pretty well, although Houston tends to push the meter in the point scoring, which forces Indy, is going to force them to take some other things. I think offensively, I mean, you really can play, I think, almost everybody in this game. I like Jack Doyle. Jack Doyle could have a very good game in this. If T.Y. plays, you play T.Y., although he's probably going to draw that. I guess Roby went out, too. Didn't Roby go out injured last week? So it might actually turn out to be a very good day for T.Y. Hilton. And, of course, on the running back side, I mean, I think Carlos Hyde will struggle more than Marlon Mack in this one. Again, Indianapolis is a much better defense than people are giving them credit for. But with Houston, I think Deshaun Watson ultimately has a very good game, and I think Will Fuller does too, because the attention is going to be on D-Hop, and I think D-Hop might have one of those games like he's had previous, although we'll see. He might be one of those guys that's finally come alive like Leonard Fournette did, and now you're going to see consistency out of D-Hop, but I could see it being a Will Fuller game. And their tight end, if you're short on tight end, I forgot who their tight end is, but I think it's Fells. Fells, I think, is their tight end, and he's been getting some catches. He's been putting up some points. What about Golden Tate? Over, under 10 points? Over, definitely over. Over 10 points. Yeah, he's the go-to guy, especially with Sterling Shepard out. It is absolutely Golden Tate time. Play Golden Tate with confidence. Oakland and Green Bay, I mean, listen, this is a Josh Jacobs day all over. Obviously they can't pass the ball very much, so Darren Waller is going to be the primary target, but I think he's going to have some trouble. That Green Bay defense, I think, is going to give him some trouble, because they know he's the main guy they got to shut down. Oh, I mean, and this is, again, one of those things where everyone's like, run the ball against Green Bay. So maybe Green Bay focuses on shutting down Josh Jacobs, but on paper, you gotta play Josh Jacobs. Oakland, I mean, obviously, on the Green Bay side of the ball, I said it earlier, Lazard, play Lazard. And now, oh man, those of you that were just like last week, like playing Aaron Jones with confidence, and you were just like, oh, he's got 3 TDs on the Cowboys. There's no stopping Aaron Jones, unless the coach, for whatever reason, seems to like Jamal Williams. I can't explain it to you. Although he did fumble. Aaron Jones did fumble, and so long as he doesn't do that, but I think you're looking at a pretty even split between those two guys. I don't think they're going to just go right back to Aaron Jones, but it's a situation to monitor. It's something we're going to have to watch and kind of learn from this week. And again, the receiver that I like is Lazard, because he seems to be the guy that can actually fucking catch the ball. We got something here. The Raiders have a good O-line. Jacobs could find some. Well, I agree. It should be a very good Josh Jacobs day. Should be. Jonathan Gregory says, I got offered Derrick Henry and Le'Veon Bell for Leonard Fournette and Breda. Ooh, I have Fournette and Breda. Should I do this? This is tasty. Okay, Derrick Henry and Le'Veon Bell for Leonard Fournette and Matt Freda. I'm going to say, take it. And I'll tell you why. Because now that first of all, Le'Veon Bell and Derrick Henry have both quietly been in the top 10 RBs all season long. That's number one. Number two, Fournette is great, but Breda, you just don't know what his usage is going to be like week to week. And the other two, I think you know that they are the bell cow backs for their teams. So based on that, and now that Darnold is back, you're seeing them play better. You're seeing him get better opportunities. Derrick Henry, I think now the iffy thing with Derrick Henry is the fact that their quarterback situation is in flux. But again, that just means they rely more on him. Again, you can count on him to get the ball. You can count on Le'Veon Bell to get the ball. I'm going to say, and you have Chubb in that league as well, I'm going to say make the trade and get Derrick Henry and Le'Veon Bell. That, I think, I personally, I would say pull the trigger. But ultimately, it's kind of like, it's kind of like no winner, no loser. It's kind of an even swap. You're both kind of gambling on what's going to come. Like in my league, someone traded essentially Julio Jones for Alvin Kamara. Well, I mean, okay, but Alvin Kamara's out this week now. So, you kind of, but, on paper, it looks like it's going to be a pretty even trade. Yes, Bell has a patsy schedule going forward, and Henry is the bell cow, like Greg says. Exactly. So, I think it's a very good opportunity. I think those are both going to be guys down the stretch that are ultimately going to be more productive consistently. I love Fournette this season. I called it. I said bounce back year, and sure enough, he's fucking bouncing back, baby. But the rest of the team is not really hitting its stride the way you would like. And so because of that, we'll see. He's in basically the same position that Derrick Henry's in. Rob Heskin, welcome to the show. Let's keep it going, guys. Minnesota at Detroit. Obviously, the Minnesota defense is really where they're making their hay. Detroit, they got big play Slay back. So this is one of those games that I'm going to say it looks like it should be a points bonanza on paper, but it's going to turn out to be far more defensive than you think. But with big play Slay back, and he's probably going to be the guy on Thielen, I think that makes Diggs a pretty good-looking option again this week. Hit accept, Jonathan Gray. You know you wanted to anyway. You love making trades. Minnesota side of the ball, obviously, Dalvin Cook. If anybody scores more points this weekend than Saquon Barkley, it's Dalvin Cook. And, of course, I know Scott Berman just got a hard on hearing me say that because he has both of them, but that is the case. It's a great matchup for him. I think Minnesota probably rocks Detroit pretty hard. But again, that Detroit defense is much better than people think. But on paper, and Detroit has been slinging the ball too. Again, Xavier Rhodes is going to be all over Kenny Golladay, which might open up, mean for better opportunities for Marvin Jones Jr. Day. Thielen or Fitzgerald. And I got to tell you, I would say Fitzgerald, because he's up against the Giants. The Giants have pretty much stunk at everything. Thielen, he's going to be covered by big play Slay probably. So for me, I can't do it. You got to go Thielen. You got to stick with Thielen on that one. The better matchup is Fitzgerald, but Thielen's I think, is going to get better opportunities. Because the weird thing about Fitzgerald is every week he should be the guy that Kyler Murray's looking for. But Kyler's got some weird thing where he won't throw to Fitzgerald till the fourth quarter. He'll throw it here, he'll throw it there, DJ, everybody. And I'll tell you somebody else I like. I like Chase Edmonds to come in there. What's his name? David Johnson has been having problems with his back. I think Chase Edmonds, he's a sneaky play for a flex in daily fantasy. I want to play him, but I can't. I'm putting in Lazard because I really believe in him. And you're saying, Tim Bateman saying, Larry. I'm telling you, I think you have to go. You got to stick with Thielen on this one. You have to. Let me have a little coffee. Yeah, let's get Brett Riley in here. Brett Riley is one of these guys that his team, he's like the Cowboys. He was fucking rolling, and then he's lost two, 3 in a row now. And it's tough when you were rolling, and now you're hitting some bumps in the road, which I think comes for everybody. But and I will say this, Scott Berman, you have put together probably the finest team, top to bottom, that I've ever seen in fantasy football. And I'll give it to you, man. I'll give it to you straight up. When I look at your team, the bench would beat most guys. In fact, let me look it up. I want to share this with everybody because it really is an impressive fucking team. I have to give it. In fact, I would say you're unbeatable. I would say you're probably unbeatable. I don't know how anybody could stop you. I really, really don't. I think I'm going to have to log back in. There we go. Let's get back into the league. And I want you guys, I'm going to read you guys this team that he's put together. And some of it through trades, some of it and an incredibly good, and there Herb, there is no Jack in this coffee. That's a Sunday morning tradition. This is Friday afternoon. I still got a lot to do, so I'm actually not trying to jinx you. I'm being very honest. I'm being completely honest about this team. That's why I want to read it to everybody, because I really think it is that fucking good. Let me go to, where is our league? Look at all the matchups. I got to show them, where is our league? Why is this not showing me? There we go. Let me get to our league, because I really want everybody to hear this team. This is remarkable that you were able to put this together. Your Team Nation, here we go. His projection's 147. The next closest is 127. He has a 20-point bonus in projection. I know, I love calling you Herb. It's such your adult name. Like, Bert was the fucking bass player of Quick Serve Johnny, okay? But Herb is the father of 3 that lives in Denver that's in my fantasy football league. Okay, let me read this team to you, though. His quarterback is Lamar Jackson. Then he has Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, who he got through a trade, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, who he got through a trade, Mark Andrews, Josh Jacobs is his flex, Justin Tucker is his kicker, and Buffalo is his defense this weekend. That's fucking pretty impressive. Now listen to the bench. His backup running backs are Tevin Coleman and David Montgomery. Then he also has Scary Terry McLaurin, Golden Tate, and he has Kirk Cousins, Drew Brees, and Vance McDonald. Vance McDonald is probably the one guy that's like everybody else on there is a legit scorer. And you got to respect that, right? That is, and I know you only grabbed them for this week only because obviously, you know, you have those, or for week 8 because you have those buys coming up. But, I mean, it's really, it's a remarkable, you put together an incredible team. This is right, Jonathan Gregg, it's an incredible team. You're definitely unbeatable. You're definitely unstoppable. And you will definitely win the title this year. Mark it. No one can beat you. And I mean that. I'm not saying that facetiously. I fucking mean it. I wish that were my team. I know. I listen. The guy. It's one of the best teams I've ever seen put together. Listen, I'm in that league. I'm in that league too. This is my league of underperformers. And let me tell you something. It's a 12-team league, but it's a league where I put together a team that I really fucking believed in too. It's not like I didn't. You know, he just had all of his bets pay off. He hit the fucking lotto. He hit all 6 numbers. I have Tom Brady. Now Emmanuel Sanders, he was a guy I picked up late that you never discard him. But it's just, then I have Derrick Henry, who I believed in, Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, Evan Ingram, Darren Waller, Odell Beckham Jr., DJ Moore. These are guys I expected to have big seasons. And so far, they've all, with the exception of Darren Waller, he's the only guy that hasn't underperformed. Everybody else has underperformed like a motherfucker. It's unbelievable. And Tom Brady was my backup quarterback. I drafted Baker Mayfield because I was all hopped up on the Cleveland Brown juice because I really thought that with those receivers, with OBJ and with Njoku, which is obviously now on IR, and Jarvis Landry, I was like, the opportunities are going to be fantastic. And with Chubb running the ball. So, I'm sorry, it is a 10-team league. Yes, it is a 10-team league. That's right. So this is a team I complete. DK Metcalf, he was another guy that I really been high on since preseason. I thought he was in a great situation. And for some reason, the consistency hasn't been there. He only does one good route. The other stuff, he does not run the whole route tree. But yes, Baker absolutely let me down. I thought he was going to really light it up with those opportunities. But yes, I finally dropped Mayfield too. But I dropped him because he's on bye this week. And he's been awful. I don't think anybody's going to compete with me for him. I think everybody would rather have anybody else than Baker Mayfield. But I did drop him, but only because, I picked up Jamal Williams, and I also picked up Kenyon Drake, which once the rumors came out that he might be traded, I wanted to get my hands on Kenyon Drake because, he's still got incredible talent. He is completely misused in Miami. And if he would ever if he gets traded to another team that actually needs to use him, he could wind up being a huge piece down the stretch. But a lot of that has to do with where he gets traded, like LaShawn McCoy getting traded into that situation. He got value back. So we'll see if he winds up having value. But right now, for this week anyway, he definitely has more value than Baker Mayfield. So, right, I love Drake. Drake, exactly. When you use him right, Drake can be fucking amazing. And they just haven't used him right. So if he gets traded, don't be surprised. And listen, I tried to get him in all 3 of my leagues, and I can only grab him in this one. But listen, if he turns it up at the end of the season, don't be surprised if suddenly I have, some pieces for trading. So, and that's really what it's about. Because I need to shore up my wide receiver core, I'm hoping Melvin Gordon gets going. I'm hoping Derrick Henry has a big day. Something so that then I can go and trade something for a good receiver. Because right now I have very weak receivers and totally underperforming running backs. But if they find a way to turn it up, then this team will be the one that I want. But right now, I mean, listen, the big lottery winner is Scott Berman putting together one of the best teams, I think. And everybody in this league is competitive. This is not one of those leagues where you got a couple guys that aren't even really paying attention and they leave a buy-in on their team. No, every guy in this is fully engaged. Scott Berman just literally has nothing else in his life except this league. I just fucking with you, Berman. I couldn't give you all praise all day, but yes, that is a hell of a team you put together, and there's no getting around it. Now, I'll say this about Lamar Jackson. Does anyone else feel that Lamar Jackson is just running the ball way too much? At the beginning of the season, he was throwing the ball, proving that he wasn't just a runner, and now he's decided to lean into his running. And I'm sorry, we have seen it over and over again. The same goes with Kyler Murray. You guys don't run the ball, okay? Because that's how you get hit, and that's how you got injured. And Murray has been Jackson has been running the ball. He's been getting hit. He's not sliding. He's taking hits. And let me tell you something, guys. One of these hits is gonna hurt. And so he needs to stop running so much. Okay. Let's get back to the games. Really quickly, we got to wrap this up. I'm talking for almost an hour now. So let's go ahead. We're at Jacksonville, Cincinnati. Listen, let's see what the Jacksonville defense does now they've got Jalen Ramsey out of the building. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. Sometimes you get rid of somebody that's just doesn't want to be there, and things get better. Cincinnati, they need to get off the schneid. They showed some life last week. Auden Tate seems to be reliable. I think Joe Mixon might actually be able to run the ball if they stay committed to the run on this one. Tyler Boyd, he's going to be drawing a Bouye, so I don't think he's going to have necessarily a very good game. I don't like him this week. Jacksonville, I love Fournette. Fournette is going to go crazy. Fournette should have a magnificent team. Okay, let me see. Berman's like me. I live for this stuff. Wednesday is like Christmas for me. Can't wait to see my trades. See, for me, you're right. I love waking up on Wednesday and seeing what I got off the waiver wire. You're right. It is like Christmas to see what you get off the waiver wire. I do love Wednesdays, but Sunday, that is the day. That's when you get to unwrap all your gifts and see what you got in there. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of lumps of coal. And I swear to God, I'm like, where are the touchdowns? Where are the fucking touchdowns? All right, Jonathan Gregory, 12-man league. He's got Dak, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Thielen, Mike Evans, and Kittle. Now, that is a very good team on certain weeks. Derrick Henry, inconsistent. Thielen, inconsistent. Mike Evans, wildly inconsistent. Kittle, inconsistent. So while, much like my team, that's a team of very good names, it isn't a team that necessarily is like, oh, each one of those guys is lighting it up. The only guy that's really lighting it up week in, week out that isn't on Berman's team is Chris Godwin. If he had Chris Godwin instead of like DeAndre Hopkins or the other guy, Keenan Allen, he would have the ultimate. He would have the ultimate team. Like it would be like he got the Biff's book of sports encyclopedia from Back to the Future 3 or wherever. It's like he got that. And he just quickly read it, and he was like, oh my God, this is the team. I got to get this team. That's what it is. He has the Biff from the Back to the Future. In fact, Scott, I'm just going to start calling you Biff. Because no one should have a team that good top to bottom. Again, you're unstoppable. You cannot be beat. Do you think Cam is going to play again this year? Sadly, I do. I think he will. Because Kyle Allen, while they've been winning games with Kyle Allen, maybe that's the kick in the pants that Cam Newton leads. And let's talk about Cam for a second. Let's talk. I hope he gets traded. That's what I hope, but they're not going to trade him. And you can't keep him on the bench. So he's going to wind up back in the game. Cam, can the theatrics. Okay? Not every play needs to be that hard for you. Do you ever see him get up from being on the ground? He kneels down for the huddle and then acts like getting up is like, then don't kneel down, jackass. And then he's got to walk. Let me take in the moment. Fuck you. Cut the theatrics and play fucking football. I play Butcher this week who has Godwin on bye. Exactly. You hit him on the exact right week. In my comedians league, I'm playing the guy that's ahead of me. He's 5-1, I'm 4-2, and he's in second place. And he has Christian McCaffrey, who's on a bye this week. So I get Saquon back. So it's the perfect week. But I also played fucking Philip Lindsay, who gave me like fucking 2 points or whatever. Fucking garbage. All right. Yes, there are people who would trade for Cam. You're crazy if you think people don't want that kind of talent. And people sometimes know that with that kind of talent, just like with Amari Cooper, you just need a change of location. Oh yeah, there you go, Berman. Exactly. Send him to Miami. They would love to have him in Miami. And you know where he should go? The Denver racist Broncos. They're not racist, I'm just joking. But I think they need to, I think that would be a great place. They love getting older quarterbacks. They love trying to get the last bit of juice out of them. I think the Denver Broncos should go get Cam Newton. Mark it 8. Okay, Miami at Buffalo. I mean, listen, it's a toilet bowl. And Miami should have a good day, except for the fact that Josh Allen is not an accurate thrower, but if he hits anyone, it should be John Brown. I like John Brown in this game. On the Miami side of the ball, I mean, let's see if they even use Drake. I mean, maybe they try and actually get him some touches, in which case that would be fucking fantastic. And then he gets his trade value up, and then they trade him, so that might happen. I would love to see Kaepernick go to the Broncos, but again, I think that, old Elway is a little too much of a trumper to let that happen. I really think that. And maybe they will take Tua. I mean, that's obviously what they're playing for, is the Tua thing. So we'll see. So, I mean, listen, if you're playing somebody on the Miami side of the ball, your season probably is already done anyway. But on Buffalo's side of the ball, listen, and again, everyone's saying play that Buffalo defense, but again, if it's magic, it happens. I mean, it just does, and this is the type of game that he shows up for. I'm not saying they win. I'm saying they diminish the defense's points. Although I do think this defense will still score points. It just won't be 50 points. It'll be like 18 points, which is still a great day. The Denver O-line sacks. Cam would get killed there. Not if you remembered that he can move his feet, which he used to do all the time. And yes, Devin Singletary supposedly should, on paper, have a good day. But, you know, for me so far this year, I'm not a big believer in Devin Singletary. Especially he's been banged up. He's been injured. LA and Atlanta. I mean, this is one of those games. You know, Julio Jones, they're just going to put Jalen Ramsey on him and say, don't worry about what the defensive play call is. You stay on Julio Jones. Everybody else will just work around you. So I think that's going to hurt Julio Jones quite a bit in this game. On the LA side of the ball, I love Cooper Kupp. A lot of people are calling for Robert Woods, and I really don't understand why. I mean, again, because I think the Atlanta defense is the kind of defense that, you know, anybody could score on. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Woods. Could be Woods. I think the Cooper Kupp is the dependable choice, and then it's going to be Cooks or Woods, and it could be either one. But I think one of them will actually make some money. Play Josh. He'll have a good day against the Miami D. Josh Allen, okay, sure. I mean, people like him, but and on paper that should happen. But I don't like Josh Allen. I think he's incredibly inconsistent. Sanu could be a sleeper. I mean, yeah, he could be, because obviously the best coverage person they've got is going to be over on the other side of the ball. So yeah, Sanu absolutely could be a sleeper in this game. This is one of those games where the number 2 guy, much like with Fuller, I mean, whenever you have a supreme lockdown corner, the number 2 guy becomes the play. You know, but of course you play your studs. Of course you're going to play Julio Jones. You have to. He's a mega talent. Let's just talk about what could possibly happen. I mean, on the LA side of the ball, hey man, listen. Gurley wasn't running a ton of yards anyway, but when he's in the game, he gets goal line opportunities, and he's going to get them versus this Atlanta defense. Will he run for 100 yards? If he were to this entire season, this would be the day he does it. Although with the banged up leg and the number of, who knows who else they're going to hand the ball to, Darrell Henderson should get a few touches. So, I mean, ultimately, I do like it for Gurley, but it's touchdown dependent. And the two guys I really like in this are both tight ends. I'd love Hooper to get a lot of action, and I like Gerald, what's his name? Not Gerald Everett. No, it is Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett on the Rams side to get a lot of play too. I like both of those guys. Hooper more. Hooper's going to have like 9 targets, whereas what's his name? Gerald Everett is going to probably 4 or 5, but he'll probably catch them, and one of them will be for a touchdown. Jalen Ramsey on Julio Jones, exactly. It's going to be, but you got to play Julio. Chargers at Tennessee. Listen, this is what I was talking about when I was talking about, that gets in the media. They were, listen, ESPN had it plastered on their little scroll at the bottom of the all day yesterday. Melvin Gordon wants more touches. That whole thing, it was all they could talk about. So listen, when that happens, guess what happens? I think you're going to see Melvin Gordon's touches go up. Although this is not a great matchup. Tennessee is great against the run. But if he gets the touches, don't be surprised if this is the game that Melvin Gordon breaks out. On the other side, I mean, again, they're a very good defense. So for the Chargers, I mean, you still got to play Keenan Allen, obviously. But Hunter Henry could be the guy. Once again, I like Hunter Henry in this one. On the Tennessee side of the ball, I'm loving Derrick Henry, and so is everybody else. But this should be a very good one. Now, let's talk about this quarterback change, because obviously Tannehill sucks. Is he the only one worse than Mariota? Maybe. But sometimes you just need a bit of a change. And everybody plays better. And hopefully that happens here. Hopefully he comes out and plays better. Hopefully that he actually completes some passes, and then the defense actually has to play the pass, and then Henry can go crazy. And I'm hoping that's what happens. But I would feel a lot better if there was someone other than Ryan Tannehill. So, if anything, maybe Mariota comes back and actually plays good again. Ertz or Hunter at Tennessee. Ertz has been very much more down than up. You could say up and down, but it's been a lot more down than up. But Hunter Henry, listen, I feel like we're chasing the points because he came out so strong last week. But at the same time, I'm going to go Hunter Henry in that one. In that matchup between Ertz and Hunter, I would go Hunter Henry. Now, Hunter Henry or Darren Waller, I'm sticking with Darren Waller. I think, even though, who are they up against? Green Bay, I think is what it is, right? Yes, it's Green Bay. Darren Waller is going to, I think, see just so many targets. I think absolutely go with Waller over Hunter Henry. I'm playing Waller in one league, but I'm sticking with Evan Ingram because of the matchup in the other league. Let's see who else we got here. So that's the Chargers of Tennessee. Baltimore at Seattle. Listen, play everybody. New Orleans at Chicago. Listen, the Chicago defense is for real, and the New Orleans defense is for real. This is one of those games that, again, on paper, looks like it should be high scoring on the offensive side, but don't be surprised if it winds up being a very low scoring game. Sneaky daily fantasy play. Alvin Kamara is out. Go play Latavius Murray. Even in your leagues, now's the time. Even though it's a tough matchup against Chicago, he's a tough back. I actually like him better for a defense like Chicago. Allen Robinson, I'm not high. On any of their wide receivers against a very good New Orleans defense. Obviously, you have to play Michael Thomas, but don't be surprised. Jared Cook is starting to get a little bit involved. Don't be surprised if Jared Cook begins to see a little something happen. Where are we? Oh, man, I'm way over an hour. But, an hour and 2 minutes. Now I won't be able to save this video. But listen, guys, let's see. Philadelphia, Dallas. Listen, I don't even want to talk about it. Dallas has got to get going. Philly's starting to heat up. Dallas has got to get going. And if Dallas plays Dallas football, run first through Zeke, Zeke's the straw that stirs the drink, then we got a chance. But with Amari Cooper out, if they try and make it a run and gun game, we're going to lose. And we can't do that. So hopefully, if anything, but, I mean, obviously the Philly secondary is awful, so they say. So fantasy-wise, good day to play Gallup. And don't be surprised if Jason Witten has another decent, productive day if you're desperate for a tight end. But ultimately, I mean, this is a scary game. Listen, you know where my heart lays. Look at this. Look. Philly, I mean, listen, Ertz has got to get going. Unfortunately, I like Alshon Jeffrey in this one, and I like Miles Sanders as well. So, and Carson, Jesus, I can't believe I'm saying the words that I'm saying. Fantasy football-wise, that's what I'm thinking. New England versus the Jets. Like I said, this is not the same Jets team that played them the last time. They're a Jets team that's angry about what happened the last time. Expect there to be a dip. Now, I still fully expect New England to win, but don't be surprised if the Jets pull an upside by running the ball with Le'Veon Bell. I like Le'Veon Bell in this game. I like Crowder in this game. And I think Tom Brady, instead of giving you his usual 26 points, he's going to give you like 16. It's going to be like a 16-point game, I think, over there. So, and at the same time, they're going to have to run the ball, but I think they're going to find it tough sledding. I don't like the running backs in this one. James White's going to be the guy, and of course, Julian Edelman. But those are going to be the guys that really see the points, I think. I don't like Sony Michel. I think he's going to hit a brick fucking wall. So there's that. So that's it, guys. But ultimately, I do think New England still wins the game, but don't be surprised. Much like with Miami, don't be surprised if the Jets give New England a scare, possibly pull a fast one, because they're salty, and national TV is watching, so don't be surprised. Okay, guys, that's it. Follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, at FFHR Podcast, Fantasy Football Harsh Reality.